Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the DJ Sessions Presents the Virtual Sessions. I'm your host Darren, and right now I'm sitting in the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington, and just a hop, skip, and a jump or a pond jumper puddle plane away in Portland, we have Stylust on the other end in his studio. How you doing today, Stylust?
Well, it's good, Darren. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just getting back to work. We were talking a little about pre-show about all the stuff we got going on, a lot of the irons in the fire, and everything that's been happening.
Yes,
And
sir.
but first and foremost, I want to say and wish you a very happy birthday.
Oh, well, thank you, man. Yeah,
You're
last night
welcome.
was my birthday. Had a great day in the studio. Went for dinner. Worked on some puzzles. Had a good time.
Is a puzzles part of one of your pastime favorites? Is it like regular flat puzzles, or is it like the box crazy puzzles?
Actually, my buddy from Costa Rica, Shelby, he's a part of Sleeveless Records. He's been doing these crazy wooden puzzles. They're called Liberty puzzles with his mom. So they're actually really intricate, cool wooden pieces, and he's been sending me a few of them. So we've been having it. My friend Ahi has been up from Northern California, so him and his girl Ash are down here, so we hung out and did some puzzling.
Nice.
Yeah.
And just about a month ago, you were at Shambhala, correct? Or was that the mix that was put up a month ago?
A little further than a month
A
ago.
little further. I thought it
Shambhala
was.
is
I didn't think it
end
was
of
in the
July
middle of
now.
winter. I thought it was somewhere in July. Yeah, another
Yeah, it used to be
Northwest.
August, but they moved it to July now.
Yeah, another Northwest favorite. I had the opportunity of hearing about that back when I was in college, almost 20 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
met the lighting designer when it was just a small little thing. And he was telling me this awesome festival up in Vancouver, outside of Vancouver, da 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 da. And years later, I was producing an episode of my broadcast television series, ITV Short Films, and I managed to interview. They had made a documentary at
Oh
that
yeah.
time, and it was the girl whose parents owned the land. And they
Mm-hmm.
finally compiled all this footage together and made this awesome documentary. You can still find it online somewhere in the wonderful world of YouTube. But I've never been able to make that festival. What was it like being
Right.
back or being there at Shambhala? I mean, it
I
must be an
mean, that
experience.
festival is pretty special to me. Growing up in Vancouver, it was kind of the backyard festival. I think the first year I went was 2003, something like
Okay.
that. So, and I think last year was my 13th year playing it.
Nice.
And it's just such an amazing festival. I mean, I could go on for days about the production and the staff and all the cool stages, but really it's just an amazing family reunion. After touring all the cities around Canada, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Toronto, Montreal, all these places, you see all the people that you see at those shows on one dance floor. So it's kind of like almost the all-star game of festivals in Canada is one way to put it. I kind of just freestyled that, but that's kind of what it feels like. And coming back after a 2-year hiatus, the vibes were thick. Let's put it that
Awesome.
way. It was great.
And speaking of shows, you have a show coming up here pretty soon in Seattle on January 13th. Tell
I
us a
do.
little bit about that and who you're working with on that.
Yeah, that's going to be. I'm not sure who the openers are yet, but that's with People Music at the Monkey Loft, January 13th. So come check it out. I haven't been to
Awesome.
Seattle since I guess late last year. So really stoked.
Don't worry about the train engine in the back. You'll probably hear sirens running by my house here. I live on one of the last worst street corners, although they've cleaned it up in downtown Seattle. Just ask when you get up here about
Yeah.
Third and Crime
Oh,
or
really?
or the Blade, or
Yeah.
just ask about the downtown McDonald's. Anyone will tell you we stay away from that neighborhood, even though
Yeah.
it's right in the heart of downtown Seattle. So don't worry. I just let you know. But as far as releases go, you
Yeah.
recently just put out a track with Torborn. Did I say that right?
Yes.
That was
Yes.
the track was Big Boy, but that's also the Big Boy EP as well. Tell us about that collaboration and how that came about.
Yeah. So yeah, I just released Big Boy, which is the first single on the Big Boy EP. Got 4 songs on that. Next single is called The Pacer, and then we got In the Zone and Run It Back. Yeah, some of the tunes are 2 years old. That new one, Big Boy, we just whipped up right before Shambhala, actually. So yeah, Torbjorn started that one on tour in the UK, actually, and he sent me a bunch of dubs to consider for Sleeveless. We actually just brought him on to the label. He's been our media manager and helping us out, and he's an amazing dude. So go check out Torbjorn across the board. Also Beats by Tor. If you're a rapper, he makes awesome hip hop beats. And so yeah, he sent me that tune, and there was just some really cool elements in it, but the drops needed a bit of a reworking and stuff like that. So that's kind of just where I lended my expertise, added a few sounds and smoothed it out. And yeah, the big boy was born. And then I ended up dropping it first song on the Shambhala set when we just like got it mastered the day before I was leaving. So I love stuff like that. That keeps me excited and interested as a live performer type of thing.
And did you start DJing first or production first? Which was the one, or did they both come synonymously at the same time?
Definitely DJing, actually. I got my turntables in like 1999, and I was always a huge hip hop guy. And so I kind of started as a bit of a scratch nerd, just getting the DJ tech tools and scratching and having fun in my buddy's basement and stuff like that. So definitely DJing first, but shortly after, probably 2000, 2001, my brother showed me Sonic Foundry Acid, which I think is one of the first programs for making beats, if I'm not mistaken. And so I got started pretty shortly after that.
And no, you're not only an avid, you're not only a producer, DJ, you're an avid hip hop fan, but you're also a skateboarder.
Yes, sir.
How was the transition going from hip hop to electronic music? Was that a slow transition, or was it pretty sudden? Like, I like this, I want to make this kind of music, or I want to play this kind of music. Tell us about that transition and how that unfolded.
It was cool. It kind of happened by accident, really. I was working with MC in Vancouver called Emotions, amazing, talented dude. And we were putting a record together. And he basically asked me, we had a song and he didn't love the beat for it. And he's like, hey, can you make a dubstep remix of this? And I was like, okay, what is dubstep? And let me have a go. So I think I listened to like some Rusko and stuff like that. Just the classic, very early kind of 2009, 2010 dubstep stuff. And this is before I even knew how to program an LFO and any of that kind of stuff. But we made this remix. It was called the West Coast Remix. And we started playing it at shows, and the energy was just absolutely wild. So kind of from there, we started mixing a little more electronic into our sets. And then fast forward maybe 3 months, 6 months, I had been collecting a bunch of dubstep that I really liked. And we took about a half an hour at the end of his shows, because I was really just the DJ playing beats I made for him and stuff like that. But I was more kind of the background guy, and he was, doing his thing, rapping, crushing the show. And so at the end of the show, we'd find half an hour for me to just kind of DJ and basically introduce a lot of Canada and definitely our hip hop audience to dubstep.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the vibes were just hitting, and it was a lot of fun. So
Nice.
It just kind of spiraled from there. And we did a bunch of shows together for probably about 4 or 5 years, where he was the MC. It wasn't the traditional dubstep set, and I was the DJ and kind of going off that. And yeah, just kind of evolved from there.
Awesome. I want to take a break right here just to give shout outs to Peter Poole and Kyle Veno.
Hey.
Or Veno.
Yeah.
Is that right? They're in the chat room right now, coming in off Facebook. So thanks for pairing that channel.
What up, boys?
What's up, y'all? How long does it take you to finish a production on average? You mentioned 2 years. One of the tracks on your new EP was 2 years, but I know there was a lot of people waiting because they wanted to release it for people to play on the dance floor, and there were no dance floors. So, but typically, how long does it take you to finish a production on average?
I mean, it really depends. An ideal song would probably be finished in 3 or 4 4-hour sessions.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? And you'll have 80% of the tune done in that first 4-hour session. And then you'll spend the next 16 hours dicking around and making edits that people might not even notice, but really kind of dialing it in. But then again, at the same time, some tracks can take 2 months. And honestly, some of the best tracks I've ever made are pretty much done in 1 6-hour kind of spastic session. So really across the board, I think the best ones are done in just a few sessions, though, honestly, because they come more natural and more forced. And like once you're at a month of working on the same tune, your hearing of it and your ears just kind of go out the window, and you're kind of digressing on the coolness of that track from there. You're just trying to make it see fit rather than, being like, oh, this is a cool idea that I should develop. Being like, oh, this works. Let's get away with that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And back just to be, I stand corrected. We're going to take just another quick break. It is Vino. Vino. And then Sarah
Peter Poole, you got a DMC world champion DJ in the chat. That's DJ All Good, Peter Poole.
Nice. And then Sarah Sterry says, "That's my cousin. So proud of you, Jeff."
Yeah, what up, Sarah? How you doing?
So if you take a look at your product, I hope that's going to happen a lot more. By the way, I'll let you finish your question, your answers, but I'll let them know as they jump in to give you shout outs. If you take a look at your list of productions you've done so far, which one of those stands out the most to you and why?
Oh, that's tough, man. I think I have over 100 songs on SoundCloud, so to narrow it down to one is pretty tough. One of my personal favorites is Bandana. I can't remember when I released that one, maybe 2016, 2017. And I just got this amazing percussive sample that turned into a really badass track. And then I debuted it at Shambhala and had all these stretchy bandanas that I had made. And I threw out about 600 to the crowd. So everyone was waving their bandana for the first time hearing the song. And it was a pretty special moment for me for sure.
Have you ever experimented mixing audio and video at the same time? And if not, would that be something for the future?
Like, do you mean a live set?
Yeah, something
like a video DJ set, a VJ set?
Yeah, kind of like a VJ set. Or just visuals that maybe would represent your tracks and then have side visuals that go with it. Like you're not having a VJ do your VJ and you be mixing the video and audio at the same time.
Yeah, I have a few dudes that actually kind of make background stuff that looks good for certain tracks. Usually it's singles for the album. Like for my Activated single, I had this 3D toad rendered because that was the album cover, this very colorful toad. And so he made this kind of plug-in that I can give to different VJs on the road, and then they can put me inside the mouth of the toad and stuff like that. So honestly, on the graphics tip, it's a little bit too much to delve into. Although a live VJ set would be really cool. My homie Matt the Alien used to do some really sick VJ sets, but I haven't pulled one off yet.
And you do have Twitch channels, one for yourself and one for your label. What was your experience like? Did you do any live streaming before 2020, or is that something that you kind of also got into with everyone else in 2020?
Yeah, that was definitely a pandemic-infused situation. I did do one of the first live streams after the pandemic with this crew out in New York, which actually turned out really cool. And that just got me really excited. And so I started building my own channel. I didn't really stream regularly, and I kind of waited for, those online festivals or cooler opportunities that I could kind of jump in and get in a lineup of guys and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed it when it didn't crash on me, man.
My phone was ringing off the hook for the first half of 2020.
I believe it. You got a good runway into that. You were live streaming before the masses.
Yeah, before it, and podcasting on the back end. That's our whole back end server is basically one big podcast, but we do the live stream and then everything goes into our podcast feeds. Now, question on everyone's mind, and this is the big one, and I'm trying to press this as much as I can. The metaverse. Have you done anything or looked at doing anything in the metaverse?
I mean, I've invested in crypto coins that are doing terrible.
We don't want to talk about that.
Other than that, I did do one show where they did do a virtual club kind of thing where I was kind of on the big screen and they had kind of an avatar doing this where you could kind of walk along a few portals, but I haven't been to the metaverse yet, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, it's there. It's in its infancy. I mean, I remember talking with the guy, I want to say maybe 2019, and he was doing VR nightclubs.
You're right.
And I was kind of like, yeah. But it wasn't until I got my Oculus in 2021 and I put the thing on. And 2 days later, I went and bought my mom and dad one and said, "You're going to love this." And my dad was like, eh. My mom's like, "I don't play video games." I'm like, come on, it's not video games. I know I'm your son, and I grew up with Nintendo and Atari and all that fun stuff and had to have every new cartridge as they came out. But no, VR is so much different than that. I mean, it will never replace the real world experience. But
You
what
never
I'm
know,
more
man.
yeah, no, it won't. But we're getting ready to grand open 2 of our virtual reality nightclubs. They're soft open right now. We're hanging all the artwork as of today.
That's
So
epic,
we're
bro.
really excited for that. But the next thing though that I think is going to be really big, and this is for real in life shows, is augmented reality. Have you been part of?
Okay.
Have you ever had anyone talk with you, or have you been part of any stage design as in implemented augmented reality, or is that something you've heard as a buzzword? Like
No,
your
maybe you could
VJs might be
explain
working
that
on the back
further
end.
to me.
Yeah, I mean the problem is right now your augmented reality experience is pretty much like this.
Okay.
You're using your phone to check everything out. Once the glasses or whatever Apple's going to call them or Microsoft's going to call them, once those come out, that's going to be where now you're wearing it.
Right.
And you're going to be able to look around, and your stage design could be really awesome. But I could be at a venue and I could look up the ceiling and be like, I want to see instead of just seeing a roof, I could be like, I want to see the Milky Way. So when I look up, the Milky Way is there. Or you could have like picture frames on the wall, and every time you go to the club, the picture frames will change and have different animated images or different 3D images. Or you could have animals flying through the ceiling and just crazy stuff. I think is going to happen to really change.
So
That
these are like devices that are going to make real life experiences kind of even cooler. Is that the idea? Like,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not like you're just standing in your room and everything's metaverse.
No. You'll be able to wear these out in public. Like for instance,
Huh.
we do silent concerts, or better known as silent disco events.
Yeah.
And when you change the channel, there's different colored channels. We could create a different augmented reality experience for each color of different channels.
Wow.
So, if we have the blue channel, everything could be blue and all the animals and everything could be blue. But then you switch it, it could be a completely different experience with everything in red or everything in purple or everything in
Crazy.
green or orange. and because our headsets go 1,000 feet, we could go to a park and map the whole park. And even though our stage is here, you walk away with the headsets out here, but you're still having an augmented reality experience in the whole park.
Wow.
And there's those sirens I was telling you about.
Another drug dealer gone down.
They have. If I could tell you some stories that happens on this street corner.
I believe it.
But yeah. So speaking about stage performances, do you become a different person when you get on stage, or do you become a different person when you're off stage, or is Stylust the same on and off stage?
I definitely do get a burst of energy. Usually I'm pretty like reserved, chill guy off stage, but I don't know, like it doesn't matter if I've had a few drinks or if I'm dead sober or if I'm sick and I feel like dying. Once I'm a few songs into my set, just kind of the energy of the set takes over for me, and I think I enjoy it hopefully as much as the fans are, kind of thing. So I just kind of really get in my zone, and a lot of people tell me I'm a very kind of high energy performer, which is definitely probably true, but I don't know, that's just kind of how I vibe with it and how I get into it for sure.
I definitely want to give shout outs to, hope I say this right, Sato81 and
Sato.
Jacob Pickardle.
Nice.
Yes, and Jacob is correct, Peter. Don't go to McDonald's down here. So if you were to play a party where only 20 people showed up for, would you finish your set and make it a hell of a party? Or have you ever had a party where just there wasn't that many people there, but you still showed up and just gave it your all?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, when you're starting your career and you're just kind of making your name for yourself, that happens, 1 out of 3 shows. and hopefully they don't book you in a 700-person venue and 30 people show up. Hopefully it's, a 200-person venue and 70 people show up. And you know what? I play the exact same set. I have just as good a time as long as the people there are into it and are having a good time. Like I say, I kind of get lost. It doesn't matter if I'm playing a massive stadium show or a smaller club show. I'm kind of giving the same performance because I'm just kind of going through my motions and enjoying it as well.
And you mentioned, playing a venue that they hopefully don't book you at a 700-person venue and 30 people show up, or at a 200-person venue and 70 people show up. That's good. What measures do you take to actively promote yourself, your releases, and your career? Is
Yeah.
solid PR an important asset for DJs, producers to have?
I mean, these days I think it's almost everything. And I've like since the pandemic I've kind of fallen back from the social media stuff a little bit because it was pretty overwhelming. I was living downtown LA at the time. The BLM movements were going on. The what's it called? National Guard was on my block with Uzis. All DJ friends were getting canceled left and right, and um, yeah. So it's definitely a huge part of everything we do, and I'm trying to get back into the swing of it. Now, as an older artist, it's tough to have the same hype and excitement. You're not making a post every time some DJ downloads your track or something like that, But yeah, I mean, I run my own label, and so social media and videos and live streams are of uber importance, as I'm sure you know.
I understand the running it all, having all the irons in the fire in the back end. I just had to explain to one of my resident DJs the other day, to kind of their kind of pseudo manager, everything that's going on. And when you put it all together, like even some of my residents, they'll be like, "How do you do all this?" I
Yeah.
can barely find time in the day to stream or produce my tracks,
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, this is kind of a full-time job for me, but there's like 7 different aspects that are all full-time jobs,
Yeah.
and
You got to wear a
um,
lot of hats in this industry for
I
sure.
remember years ago, the DJ goes by the name of Paulo Mojo. I'm not sure if he's still around. I was interviewing him at a club here in Seattle, and he said, I went out and I started my own label, and I found out I was really terrible at it, and it went nowhere. It
Mhm.
was finally when I started to delegate and I let somebody else run my label for me that it actually started to take off.
Yeah.
And I would focus back on the music production and the DJ and performance side of things, but let my label be handled over here by a manager. I think that's one of the hugest things that I found, is to delegate things.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but even now when I delegate, more gets piled on the plate.
It's true.
So, because we're
I
getting ready
mean,
to.
yeah, that's true. With Sleeveless, we have 3 amazing staff members now. We have Aaron Silverstein, who's the co-founder with me, and Shelby as well, and James Foster, and now Chorborn. So I guess we got 5 of us now. Eh, I can't say I'm always the best delegator. I'm not the boss that says, "Hey, do this," yada yada. I kind of expect people to kind of come up with their own ideas and shoot them out. But now I've got people in their respective places that are killing it, and it frees up a little bit of time for me. But stuff with social media, you just have to do yourself anyway. No one can
Yeah.
pretend to feel what you're feeling or go through your day for you. So as far as saving time, it just kind of it's not doing that, but it's definitely getting the message out to the people, which is the most important thing. And I
Yeah.
really enjoy owning my own record label, to being to keep all the half pennies for every time you listen to the song, but also just to be able to schedule my own releases and put them out the way I want and keep full ownership of my music, which I think, moving forward in the next 10 years, a lot of these other guys that gave up their music to the labels, and they're going to see, a few million streams 10 years from now and stuff like that. And the labels might have been folded, or they don't have a good system in place to pay out the artist, or an automated system and stuff like that. So, I mean, try and keep your own music, or work with labels that are, your family and are going to stick around with you.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the endeavors that we're taking, is to create our own label. I'm just in the process, have the check sheet to go through with one of my guys from the UK. And it's just an interesting process because it's like, what do we want our sound to be like? Are we going to open it
Mhm.
up to other people? Are we going to make it just our residents? How are we
Yeah.
going to go about doing this? And what do we want to spend on
Yeah.
each track? And it's
A
not
bit
just
of a
about,
money pit for sure,
yeah,
but
exactly. It's like, okay. And we're trying to plan this out for all of 2023. How often do we want to release? What are
mhm.
we looking at? Do we come off like with a big track and then scale it back and then come with a medium and then come with a big and then this is all new to me and I've never really done A&R myself either. I can listen to music and be like, I like that, but is it a
Mhm.
good song just because I like it?
Yeah.
And that's kind of the interesting thing that I'm going to find out over the course of the next year and hopefully forever. But you're right about maintaining those rights. I think a lot of people get caught up that they're going to, I'm getting signed to a label and
Mhm.
everything's gone,
Yeah.
and you're right. And they just produce all these songs and when they could just form their own label.
Yeah.
And,
I
and
mean,
if,
it's definitely a longer term process and a lot of work has to be put in, but to see residual income, which we should all be striving for in this day and age, as we're all sole proprietors and stuff like that, will go a long way in the future. So,
Mhm.
and that kind of creates your budget and what you spend. Like now, I've kind of dialed it in where we're not putting outside money in the label; we're taking from the residuals and reinvesting that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It did definitely take a lot of money to start up, but after the ball starts to get rolling, it's well worth it, I think.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've had to have the conversation with a lot of DJs, producers over the years of saying, this is a business, and in any business, you have to make an investment. Time is
Hmm.
one of those pieces of the pie in the investment.
Hmm.
Social media is another piece of the pie, but you have to make even getting equipment is a piece
Hmm.
of the pie. Playing shows for free to get your name out there is a piece of the pie, but it all goes into what I go back to accounting. It's your sweat equity,
Yeah,
and you can
100%.
build that over time to where now, like you said, those half pennies have now made that you're not putting your own investment money into it anymore.
Hmm.
It may, I don't know what your books look like, but if I took the books that I have for the DJ sessions and all the sweat equity I put into, or
Hmm.
a goodwill that is accountable for, you
Yeah.
can add that in and value a company based on the goodwill put in. We'd be in the red for a long time.
Yeah, and we definitely
That's
were
okay.
too, for sure. So it's just part of the game. Really try and
Absolutely.
stick with it and don't get discouraged.
So, quick question, switching gears here a little bit. Who is your favorite artist outside of electronic music and why?
Whew. Damn, that's so tough. I listen to so much different music. I love indie rock. I love old grunge rock. I love hip hop. Um, I mean, my favorite hip hop group has got to be Tribe Called Quest.
I just mind read you there.
Did you?
I had a feeling you were going to say Tribe. I don't know
You were gonna,
why.
yeah. So you can see all the vinyls back there. I could pull out and tell you 100 other favorite artists. What I've been really into, actually, who's on Sub Pop, a Seattle label, is
Hmm.
Band of Horses. Is probably one of my favorite
Oh, yeah.
bands of all time.
I haven't heard that name for
Their
a
music is
long
just so
time.
vulnerable and so catchy. And yeah, I mean, we used it. No One's Gonna Love You for our wedding song and stuff like that. So something about that is psychedelic rock. It hits me in the right place.
And having such a musical influence of so many genres in your background, that was an inspiration to you. Do you feel that you're an inspiration to others? Do you get fan mail? Do you get those social media? Do you get that I guess the modern equivalent of fan mail would be somebody like saying something on Instagram or
Yeah.
making a post or tagging you on Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok. Do you feel you're an inspiration to others, and not just from your fans, but to other producers and DJs out there?
I mean, I really hope so. I definitely do get some amazing messages in the email box, and I try and just be the best person I can at the venue, at home, and stuff like that. So I try and be a role model for other DJs as best I can. Um, and yeah, like definitely coming up, kind of the formative years. Maybe that was 2012 to 2015 for me. I had so many people um, from Canada. Like I moved to the States from Canada, which was a big move. Just so many people that were supportive and said, "Hey, you're gonna make it, bro," before I had made it, and just keep doing what you're doing. And of course, every artist has self doubt, probably once or twice a day. You know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely credit a lot of those early friends and fans for messaging me and just basically telling me to keep doing what I'm doing and it's going to pay off. And luckily they were right for the better part of it.
What's the sweetest or nicest thing that a fan has ever made for you? Have you ever received a gift from a fan that you weren't expecting? Like they waited till your set was over, waited till you were coming out of the club and said, "Here you go, I made this
um,
for you."
I think probably the coolest and the first one happened to me um, was my first fan at Shambhala that brought because they have a bunch of banners and totems and stuff like that, and they had a totem specifically for me that they brought down to the set. I think it was 2013, 2014 or something like that. And I was like, Stylust makes my heart beat or something like that. And I was just clearing out my parents' basement a couple weeks ago, and turns out it's still down there. So that's one that comes to mind, although I've received some awesome stuff throughout the years for sure.
And what defines success for you?
I've thought about that a lot, and it's really hard um, kind of to judge success when you're because obviously I have a lot of DJ peers, and some are up here, some are down here, some are right here. You know what I mean? If you judge success against all your friends, you're really kind of pitting them as adversaries and stuff like that. So to me, I think success is just be able to make a living, have a comfortable workspace, and be happy with your day to day life. So we just bought a house. I got an awesome studio. I got an amazing wife who takes care of me every day. So that's how I judge success, and hopefully, it goes beyond just a music or a single doing well or having a good year at festivals and stuff like that. I think it's just being able to be comfortable, and I don't think I'll ever be comfortable, but um, because once you get to a certain point, you're always looking at the next and in yada yada. But success to me, music industry is extremely tough, and especially in the last 6 years, there's been such an influx of DJs and producers as software and stuff makes it a lot easier, barrier to entry. I used to have to go find a record and sample it on, and it's just there was no splice. It was a much different fucking process. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I kind of forget what your question was at this point, but
Oh, it was just what defines the success for
yeah,
you.
I
And
mean, yeah, just being happy and yeah, I guess the point I was making was it's really hard to make a living out of music, and so to see any sort of financial success and gain, that's success in itself. Don't worry about awards and accolades and comparing yourself to these other top artists, So just enjoy yourself and enjoy your time, and don't take it for granted when you're getting booked for shows out of town and doing well. Go spend some time out of the hotels, spend some time with the promoter, go to the record shops. Don't sit in the hotel and watch Property Brothers. You know what I mean? Really take it all in. And that's kind of something I learned from the pandemic. Pre-pandemic, I was a little burnt out on touring, and I was kind of happy it happened almost. You know what I mean? Which it seems really weird, but I was just kind of at that point. And now I'm like clawing, trying to get it back to where I was pre-pandemic. So who knows?
yeah, I want to give a shout out to Evan McGinnis who just joined us as well.
What up, Emmett?
Um,
He's a
and
legend.
so, does your wife enjoy listening to your music that you produce? Is she a fan of the let me go bass heavy yet timeless sound?
Yeah, she's also always been a massive supporter, and she has to listen to my music on loop for hours at a time. So you'd have to ask her that question and ask her to be really honest to get a real answer from that. And but sometimes what is cool if I'm working on an idea and she likes it, and this is maybe 1 out of 10, 20 ideas, she'll pop in and say, "Hey, that's pretty cool." And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I am onto something here. But she's always been amazingly supportive, and she's my tour manager when we go on the road together, and she's helped a lot with my other management and label stuff. So yeah, uber supportive, and I'm super
and,
thankful. Love you, Courtney.
and we've talked a lot about the industry, the ins and outs, difficulties of rising up in it and making it ahead. If there was one thing you could change that bothers you about the electronic music scene, what would that be, and how would you go about it? Changing it.
Well, I can tell you one thing I like about the electronic music scene, because I was into hip hop before. And with hip hop, you have to have so many check boxes. You have to have this image, you have to have this amount of money, you have to have this, just for people to accept you. And what I like about electronic music is you can be from anywhere, you could have any laptop, you could be any race, color, creed, whatever, and people aren't really judging you on your appearance or where you're from. It's really the music that speaks for itself. So that's one thing I really like about the industry. Things changing, I think I just would like to see more people be unique to their sounds. I enjoy, if I hear a song I really like, I might make another production that's inspired by that, and that's just art in general. Art is supplied by previous art, and you just kind of build and build and building blocks and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess to move out of generic patterns and sounds is going to be very important moving forward. If you look at what's really popping, it's in the bass music scene. It's called weird left field bass now. So it's sounds that are like new to people's ears or more minute rather than just like heavy hitting kind of screechy stuff, which I'm happy everyone's moving away from a bit. I think we got to make it more everyday listenable, which has always been my goal, is making timeless electronic music, which is extremely hard because genres and stuff move so fast and things get forgotten, and we're supposed to put out 9 singles a year and times that by a million artists. You just like, it's a library of chaos. So yeah, my always goal has been to do more timeless stuff, and I have a few songs that have stood the test of time, but a lot of it doesn't. So
I got a follow-up question to that, but want to make sure I get Kyle Vino's shout out to Court and the Bunny in there, and also James Rivera as well. Shout out to him. With the advent of AI hitting the art world, I recently read a story. It was maybe 3 months ago that a person submitted a piece of AI artwork to a contest and won.
Wow.
And how that I saw another friend of mine, he was in the 2D world, and he switched genres over to the 3D environment, 3D world, but that 2D world kind of getting crushed by AI now coming out. What is your thoughts because it will happen, when AI hits the music world? And maybe it's already there. I think there was a guy who was already doing he'd take the song from one artist and take the beat from another artist, and he combined them together via AI and make these tracks, and got kind of viral famous for it. But the day could be, I want to say, I want 124, I want house, I want it groovy, funky, guitar.
Yeah.
And boom. And it's going to make me this whole thing, this track. I mean, you kind of saw this with a little bit of like Garage Band, where you kind of pick things, but you'd still pull instruments in and out of what it could randomly generate for you. But what are your thoughts on AI entering into the music place?
I mean, it has a great chance of taking over a good portion of music, unfortunately, and but one thing I think AI can't do, which has happened to me a few times, is happy accidents. Whereas when you make a mistake and that turns into a whole new idea kind of thing, a lot of my best songs and biggest tunes have a happy accident in them, where that kind of took the song to the next level. But I mean, if you need a song for your Caramilk or your, Mars bar commercial, I'm sure in the future you can be like, I want a chocolatey, smooth beat with a drip of caramel, and I'm sure it'll come through for you. You know.
Yeah, I'm it's going to be interesting to see when that day comes out.
Yeah.
The word on the street from, I was at ADE about a month and a half ago, and, talking with artists about AI. Oopsie, that's not supposed to be there. How did that get in there?
Well, as soon as we start talking about AI, here pops up a little
Right?
bot.
Here goes pop up some bots in the chat. I tried to actually delete it out of the chat room,
Classic.
and instead of
It will
deleting it,
not be
it actually
deleted.
showed it. That's going to be a funny little happy accident.
Exactly.
Anyways,
There's your. Oh, maybe they can make happy accidents. Now we're all doomed.
but no, the talk was, we were talking a lot about NFTs and how that might change the gameplay.
Yeah.
But now, because crypto's down, not a lot of people are looking at it as a viable form, but I think there's still relevancy in it. But AI coming in, and I think the one thing is people said it wouldn't have a heart, it wouldn't have a soul. I think adding in that happy little accident, something you go, oh wow,
Yeah.
that never would have happened.
It's
Would have
gonna
just been.
make human producers really have to dig a lot deeper. That's for sure. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's been a great time talking with you. Is there anything else you want to let our DJ Sessions fans know before we let you go?
Nope. Just I hope you guys enjoy the new album. You can go pre-save it now on my Instagram, instagram.com/stylustbeats. Do me a birthday present favor, save the album. Helps the AI algorithm overlords, and you will be the first to hear it as it comes out. It'll actually be out by midnight tonight, which is exciting. So yeah, go check out my new album, Big Boy. And I thank you so much, Darren, for your time as well, man. It was a blast
Absolutely.
chatting with you.
And everyone out there, don't forget about the show coming up on
Yeah.
January 13th at the Monkey Loft. Yeah, that'll be a fun show. And also, where's the best place for people to find out all the information about you and what you do?
We have stylustbeats.net, and all my social medias are either Stylust Beats or just Stylust. Check me out on Spotify, Stylust. Have my whole collection there.
Awesome. Again, thank you for coming on the show, Stylust. It's a great honor to have you on the show, and we're going to definitely be following up with you. You're only, like I said, a pawn skip away from us. So hopefully see
come
you
out to the show, bro. We'll get you on the list.
Definitely will. We'll talk about that after the show because I'd love to come see it in person. Again, thanks for coming on the DJ Sessions today.
Bless, man. Appreciate you.
No worries. On that note, don't forget to go to our website, thedjsessions.com. Find us on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Meta. We're out there, but the best place to go, where all our social links are, is thedjsessions.com. You can also find us on Roku, Amazon Fire, Google Play, Apple TV. Find us in the metaverse and VR, and download our mobile app so you can just take us on the go. I mean, why wouldn't you want to? You can get all of that and more at thedjsessions.com. I'm Darren, coming to you from the virtual studios in Seattle, Washington. That's Stylust coming in from Portland, Oregon for the DJ Sessions. And remember, on the DJ Sessions, the music never stops.